Hi, Dark Dove back with you again. I know I said that during my last video that this would be my last update before Christmas, but one more. This has definitely been my last one before the new year, I can assure you on that one. I went to two record fairs 2 weeks ago. There was two separate record fairs over 2 days, but two of the same sellers were at both fairs, so I got items from both of them on both days. I'll start off with one seller whom I have gotten stuff from in the past quite a bit. So on the first day I got this. This is one of two items I got from him. Pink Floyd Relics. So this originally came out in '71. This is, according to Discogs, this is a 1978 reissue, but it does have a barcode, so I don't know, I'd imagine it might be a bit later. But yeah, so this is a compilation of their early material. This is on Music for Pleasure, which is a budget label, but it collects some of their early stuff, like some of their Syd Barrett materials, such as See Emily Play and Interstellar Overdrive. So there's some nice stuff on here, from 67 to 69. Very nice artwork here. Great cover picture by is it Nick Mason? Yes, Nick Mason. So he did that very interesting artwork there. So yeah, so this is a nice addition to my Floyd collection. Next up is something which yeah, Joni Mitchell is an artist who is seriously underrepresented in my record collection, and okay, so Court and Spark, one of her most highly regarded albums from 1974. I have seen this around a lot, but I find that the local record stores here in town, they're always looking for too much for it, and like, it is a pretty common record, like it's certainly not rare, but I picked it up for a nice enough price at the fair from this buyer. So something I've been meaning to pick up for a long time, and she is kind of seriously underrepresented in my collection, so so I was happy to pick this up. It's an original 1974 UK pressing on is it Asylum? Yeah, I think, yeah, yeah, Asylum. So Free Man in Paris is the kind of the best known track on this. I'm sure most of you already have it, but better late than never to add that classic album to the collection. Now, the next item, which I got from the same seller, I didn't pick it up from on the first day. I did see it there and did a bit of online research, looked up on YouTube, and quite liked what I heard. Now, this is a band called Fridge. Yes, Fridge as in the fridge that you plug the electrical appliance. British post-rock band, formed in the mid-90s, still going as far as I know. This came out in 1998. This is a 12-inch single, and it comes with a bonus 7-inch. Now, originally it came with a polythene bag, which had the band name and the name of the record on it, so it would have looked a lot more impressive, but this is missing it, so it's just this plain cardboard sleeve. This is really interesting stuff. Before I bought this, I listened to some of it on YouTube and really liked what I heard. It's kind of electronic rock, kind of neo-psych. There's two long tracks, Orco and Distance. Really liked this. I got it for just €4, and it also came with this is a bonus single which came with it. Bonus 7-inch. Jessica and It's All On. So two shorter tracks, kind of around the 5-minute mark. But yeah, interesting. Fridge, a band I will be looking out for more of their stuff. And okay, so those three were all from the same seller. Now another seller who I bought 2 items from, one at the first fair, the other at the second fair, which he was also at. Now on the first day, I picked up an album by a band who I only really kind of become aware of fairly recently. But they're a band who they were active in the late 80s, from about 85 to 1990. They were kind of I suppose you could categorize them as space rock, kind of psychedelic revival, very much kind of not, very much at odds with what was kind of going on in the late 80s, but that is Loop, and this album is called Fade Out. It's their second album, and this came out in 1988. So this is kind of space rock, neo-psychedelia, kind of shoegaze. There's a kind of a bit of a Mary Chain influence meets My Bloody Valentine, with kind of more of a psychedelic, spacey kind of thing going on. It's on a label called Complete Music. This is original UK pressing, 1988, and interestingly enough, another seller at the same fair also had this, the same album, same pressing, and he was looking for quite a bit more for it. Now he also had quite a few of their other albums, but this guy, he's a bit of a rip-off merchant. Ben, you know who I'm talking about. I have bought things from him occasionally, but he is a bit of a he's a bit of a rip-off. But this one, this copy I got for a pretty nice price. I got it for kind of slightly less than what it goes for, pretty much, So, Jimmy, I know you have picked up their debut album, so you'll be familiar with them. So Loop, and that is my very first pick-up by that band, and hopefully it won't be the last. Now the second item, which I got from that same seller, and this was the following day, I spotted this. Now, this is by a musician called Snakefinger. Now, he went under the name Snakefinger. I have to actually admit, I forget his real name just now. But he was a British guitarist who moved to San Francisco in the 70s and became involved with the Residents. As you'll know, that avant-garde, experimental San Francisco band. So the Residents actually co-wrote most of the songs on this album, and they produced it. So kind of in a way, this is kind of a Residents album in all but name. This came out in 1980 on Ralph Records. This is a US press. Inner bag. No, interesting. This is a kind of the official Buy or Die inner sleeve, as it says. It's quite an interesting array of. That's another album I'm looking for. The commercial album by the Residents. Some more I have that one. Third Reich and Roll and Chrome. Yeah. So this is sorry, I've completely forgot. It's called Greener Postures. Greener Postures by Snakefinger. And sorry, I actually forget his real name, but he recorded under the name Snakefinger. But he died in 1987 of a heart attack. But this is really kind of out there, kind of. It's a bit kind of industrial, kind of post-punk. There's kind of reggae influences, and he has a really kind of distinctive guitar style. It's kind of if you're familiar with the Residents, you'll probably be familiar with this. But it's actually a bit more accessible than the Residents. Yeah, it is kind of experimental and kind of out there, but not quite as out there as a lot of the Residents' kind of own stuff. So Snakefinger and Greener Postures on Ralph Records. I got that for a pretty nice price. I got it for €12. Now there was another seller there on that day, and I got 2 items from him. Two very different things. I had to grab this when I saw it. This is the original soundtrack to Goldfinger, the James Bond movie from 1964. And this is the soundtrack by John Barry. This is an original mono pressing on United Artists, and really nice condition, really lovely copy. And this is the one that has that song by Goldfinger by Shirley Bassey. So yeah, really lovely kind of. Even the sleeve and record are in really excellent condition, and I got it for a really nice price. So I've been picking up quite a bit of John Barry's stuff lately. So the other thing I got from the same seller is quite different. So this is by the Virgin Prunes, and this is Pagan Love Song. Virgin Prunes, Irish band, Irish post-punk band, active in the late 70s, early 80s. This is, well, it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was a hit single, but it's Pagan Love Song, which came out in 1982. It basically introduced them to kind of a wider, it kind of made them popular among the kind of goth crowd, the kind of emerging goth rock scene, even though Virgin Prunes, to be quite honest with you, they weren't really kind of part of that scene, but this single was kind of largely instrumental in kind of making them kind of popular among that scene. So it's 12-inch on Rough Trade from 1982, and the B-side is Dave ID is Dead. So yeah, so well, don't see their stuff around too often, to be quite honest with you. I think they were more popular in Europe than they were here in Ireland. I think they're one of those bands were a little bit underappreciated in their home country. But anyway, glad to grab that as well. Now, what? Oh yeah. Next item is something which I actually was part of a trade. Well, kind of a partial trade. I went to my local independent record store, plugged with some CDs to do a trade in, and so I traded in store credit, and I picked up something which had been on my want list for quite a while. This is BBC Radiophonic music, and this is an album which was originally released in 1968, and this is a 2013 reissue of Music on Vinyl. So it was released by the BBC back in 1968. Now, the BBC Radiophonic studio, though, they did kind of incidental electronic music for a lot of TV shows, BBC TV shows, most famously for Doctor Who. Delia Derbyshire here, she was responsible for the arrangement of the famous Doctor Who theme tune. Now that isn't actually on this album, but some of the incidental music from Doctor Who is on here. It also features David Kane and John Baker, who were also involved in the BBC Radiophonic workshop. Originals of this are quite pricey, but I was very glad to get a trade-in for this reissue, and it's a pretty good reissue. It's Music on Vinyl, so I love that early electronic music. So one that I'd had on my want list. I had a copy in my cart on Discogs, but I can wipe that now that I've managed to grab this. Now the next item is something which I actually spotted in the window of a record and bookshop which I regularly frequent. Now I've got a lot of stuff there in the past. It's a bookshop come record shop that's run by an elderly gentleman. I saw this in the window, and it's a band who I remember from back in the 90s, mainly from seeing them on MTV, and I knew the name, but I saw it and I thought, well, that's interesting, I remember that band, and it was only going for €10. As it turns out, he seriously underpriced it. That is White Zombie, band formed by this guy Rob Zombie, and this is called Astro Creep 2000. Well, it's got this kind of long convoluted, which I won't go into, but Astro Creep 2000 is the title. This came out in 1995. Now, White Zombie, kind of thrash metal, come kind of bit of psychedelia, bit of industrial rock, kind of a bit of grunge, a lot of influences thrown in there. This is actually a limited edition purple vinyl press. Maybe you can't really see it there, but it is it's kind of clear when you hold it under a light, but it is purple vinyl. I got it for €10. It generally goes for 4 to 5 times that, so I got it for a pretty good price. Yeah, so so yeah, so I've been playing this a bit. Quite like this. Kind of a band, one of these bands who are kind of forgotten about. Rob Zombie. He's also directed. He directed a few movies. He directed this horror movie which I think it was called A House of a Thousand Maniacs or something. Which it wasn't great. I remember seeing it a few years ago. But a lot of the kind of subject matter and lyrics and song titles are kind of influenced by kind of B movies and these kind of, kind of trashy horror movies from the past. So there's a kind of a thing running through it. So that was a nice pickup. Okay, so I'll just quickly go through a few items which I picked up in charity shops. Herbie Hancock, Sextant. I found this in a charity shop from 1973, and now that's kind of hanging off, but this is an excellent album. It basically consists of 3 long tracks which are heavily dominated by Moog synthesizer, so this is really kind of mad, kind of ambient, spacey kind of thing going on. So lovely picture art as well, so that was a nice find. Another nice pickup. This is a label that Ben Costello, you'll be familiar with this. This is an Irish. This is on a label called Gail Lynn, which is a label I've shown stuff on this label before. It's got that distinctive label design. This came out in 1967, and this features some future members of the of whom would go on to be the Chieftains, including Paddy Maloney. It's basically a music. It's covering the music of Turlough O'Carolan, who was an Irish harpist. He was a blind harpist active in the early 18th century. It also features Sean O'Riordan, and it features the singing of this guy, Sean O'Shea, who is actually my girlfriend's former teacher, headmaster. He's from here in Cork. I don't see it. You see him around town sometimes, but this is a pretty collectible album. I've seen copies of it going for around €20, so I picked it up for just €1. Well, I mean, the sleeve isn't in great condition, but still it was a nice find. And this was another €1 pickup, and yes, it's that PR symbol again. This came from, I keep seeing these all over the place. Somebody's just dumped a load of these in charity shops around town, and this is one which I've explained already the origins of that PR thing, so I won't go into it again. But this is People World by Jim and Dean. This is some interesting kind of psych folk kind of thing, from 1967 or 68, I think. Original pressing on Verve. The sleeve is kind of water damaged, and there's kind of, but the actual disc itself is fine. It's not. There's a couple of really good songs on this. It's not amazing, but it does certainly have its moments, and it was certainly worth €1. Finishing up with another charity shop find. The Best of Duke Ellington. Now this is an original Capitol release. Has the inner bag and everything, but the actual record is really kind of badly thrashed. I did play it. Side 1 kind of plays okay, but side 2 is very, very crackly. But actually, inside in the sleeve was another record, a different Duke Ellington record, Duke Ellington's Greatest Hits on Columbia, red label, and this is in pretty good condition. This is nice and clean, so this is really playable. So basically, you know, so it was worth grabbing for that, you know. So anyway, that's it. So yeah, so this is the last video before Christmas, so happy Christmas to everybody in the VC, and thanks very much for watching.